Well, welcome to the Online Business Launchpad podcast. It's really great to be here with you today, and I've got Louise Brogan with me. Now, Louise is a LinkedIn expert, and I recently had her help me just take a look at my LinkedIn profile. And basically, I don't know for the listeners there, maybe you've always thought of LinkedIn as being kind of like an electronic CV or a resume. And I just want to tell you that the world's changed. And it's no longer all about that. And if you are somebody who wants to make better use of LinkedIn, either for the purpose of promoting your business or in terms of basically showcasing to the world what it is that you can do, you definitely don't want to treat it like a CV. So Louise did just such a great job of helping me with my profile that I just thought I'd ask her to be on the podcast because I know she's got a lot of information that she can share that's going to help everyone who's listening just do a better job with their LinkedIn profile, because there's things that you can change really quickly that actually make a big difference. So welcome, Louise.
Thank you, Trudy. I'm absolutely delighted to be joining you on your podcast all the way over in Australia. And I'm sitting here in Northern Ireland nursing my morning coffee.
Watching the sun come up while I'm watching the sun kind of go slowly down.
Yeah, I mean, that is the beauty of podcasting, isn't it? You can talk to people from all over the world. It's wonderful.
Oh, it's fantastic. It is fantastic. Do you want to talk a little bit about your business and who you serve?
Yes. So I've been in business since 2013, and I started out. So I have a background in IT and software engineering, and I was an IT project manager for about 10 years, 10 and a half years. And I've always loved computers and tech and IT stuff. But even back, I remember getting my first email in about 1987, I think, which I still use today, my yahoo.com email. So I always really enjoyed using software and IT. And in 2013, I started my business and I was working as a social media manager. So I was basically managing social media accounts for other people, mainly Facebook. So people didn't really know how to use Facebook back in 2013. And I did that for a few years. And then I realized that I actually really enjoyed teaching people. And I moved more towards training and teaching people how to use initially all social media. And I actually was an accredited trainer for Facebook and Instagram for a couple of years and was invited to Facebook to meet their team and learn all the way they trained people how to use Facebook and Instagram. But about 2 years ago, I was advised that I should try and niche down a little bit, because when you say that you train people on social media and it's all of social media, it's kind of hard to stand out. You know, having the accreditation from Facebook and Instagram certainly helped me stand out, because there was only, I think, 35 of us in the whole of the UK that had that accreditation. But I decided to niche down into one platform, and that platform is LinkedIn. And I've been doing that for 2 years now, and it's been wonderful. It's for several reasons. It makes me easy to find for people who are looking for support with LinkedIn. But when you niche down into one particular area, it means that you can really dive into it and learn so much more about that one platform than when you're trying to keep on top of all the social media platforms. So like, I'm not interested in TikTok or Snapchat, and I barely have watched an Instagram reel, but I know as much as I think is possible, and I'm continually learning about using LinkedIn. And I love then helping others to understand how to use this platform, because it's such a good platform for business. Oh my goodness, Trudy, people who aren't using LinkedIn yet, when they come to one of my webinars or one of my kind of introductory talks about it, are really amazed at even scratching the surface of what this platform can do for you if you are looking to grow your business and to get clients and customers. So I love it. And my podcast, I was thinking about this earlier. My podcast has been around for 3 years, and I switched over to focusing specifically on LinkedIn on the podcast about a year ago. So it used to be called the Social Bee podcast, and now it's called LinkedIn with Louise. And again, it makes it easier for me to create podcast episodes because it's all about LinkedIn.
Oh, so yeah, that would make it better. That'd make it easier.
Yeah, and I work with, who do I work with? I work with corporate teams and individuals and professionals, and I work with teams from all over the world. And I also do a lot of work with solo entrepreneurs, and people like, so I have clients like attorneys in California, coaches and consultants all around the world, and people who want to really understand how to use LinkedIn, how to leverage it, and how to get more business by using it.
Yeah, no, it's such a powerful tool. I'm curious. I want to just dig just a little tiny bit more into that. You were saying that you were more widely focusing on social media, and then you
Yeah.
chose, despite the fact that you were accredited in these other things, to
Mm.
specifically focus on LinkedIn. Why specifically LinkedIn? What was it? What was the appeal of LinkedIn?
I think there are several things that appeal to me about LinkedIn. I think that a lot of people that go into social media management and training choose Facebook and Instagram. Um, Less people choose LinkedIn. I don't know if this is true in Australia, but over here, it seems that more men train on LinkedIn and less women. So you can stand out as a woman who trains on LinkedIn. But once I started to really look into LinkedIn, it became a bit of a no-brainer for me because if you think about your ideal client, so somebody who's trying to figure out how to use social media, when they go to Facebook, they're not really going to Facebook to find businesses. They're going to find friends and family. So when they go to Instagram, people open up Instagram, again, not to go shopping or to find a business or a coach. They go to Instagram for a wee jolt of inspiration. When they go to Twitter, they go because they want to know what's happening in the news. Like there was breaking news last night in the UK about the coronavirus and the number of people you can meet socially, etc. Again, breaks on Twitter. Also, any sporting events break on Twitter. But when you go to LinkedIn, people only open the LinkedIn app or go to the LinkedIn website because they are thinking about business and their business networks and their business relationships. So you're not fighting, your message is not fighting on there amongst all the people talking to their mothers. My brother lives in New Zealand. I go to Facebook and I'm seeing messages from him, messages about his kids. First, when you go to LinkedIn, you're seeing content and posts from business networks and connections, and that's why you go to LinkedIn. So it just made so much sense for me that I should help other people understand how to use it more effectively. I think the stats are that 90% of people who go to LinkedIn never interact with anybody at all. A lot of people just have it as their online CV or resume, or they just scroll through the posts. 9% of us will go and then we will click like, or one of the 6 emojis, thoughtful, insightful, love, but don't actually comment. And only 1% of us will put any content of our own on LinkedIn. So in 2020, it is a platform that is really relatively easy to stand out on if you want to be known as an expert in the field that you work in, because so few people are actually posting on it. And if you can get yourself in a space where you understand how to use LinkedIn, you've got a good profile, you've got a good plan for content, you've got a strategy for using it, it's going to be so much easier to win business than it is on those other social media platforms.
I think that's really, really powerful because I was just thinking about the difference between Facebook and LinkedIn in terms of the algorithm. The things that you post up on Facebook. Maybe you might want to comment on it, but just from my perspective, it feels like stuff just disappears into a black hole when it's in
Yeah.
Facebook, and in
Yes.
LinkedIn it pops out. Yeah, what do you reckon about the difference between the two?
Oh, so there's so many reasons to choose LinkedIn. So when you put a post, you're right, Trudy, if you put a post on your Facebook page, even if you're getting good interaction on it, it kind of has a shelf life of a few hours. Whereas when you put a post on LinkedIn, when you understand how to write it, the format to write it in, how long it should be, what it should look like, is it text only, is it video, is it, so many moving parts to understand. But when you put a post up on LinkedIn and starts to get engagement, it has a shelf life of about 5 days, not hours, 5 days. So I will have, in fact, there's a post that I'm getting notifications on this morning that is over 5 days old. People are still commenting on it because they are interested in it. And because if you think about, there's a friend of mine who has just left a very high profile job in the UK and gone into working with universities. And he said to me, when we met him earlier in the summer, he said to me, Louise, when I go to LinkedIn, because you're really the only person in my network that ever posts anything, all I see is your posts. But now his network is growing now, so hopefully that's not the case still. But if you imagine that the average person who's gone to LinkedIn, they've created a profile, they've reached out and connected with people that they know, they might have under 500 people in their network. And so you imagine if 1% of those people are posting content, that's only 5 people in their network that they're even seeing posts from. Which is why people don't go to LinkedIn every day like they do the other social media platforms, but that's okay, because if they check it 2 or 3 times a week and they have only 1% of their network are posting, the likelihood of them seeing your post, if you're the person who's posting, is really high because so few of the rest of the people in their network are posting. And it's even higher if you're sharing content that shows off your knowledge, expertise, why they're connected to you in the first place. So for people who are listening to this who want to know more about LinkedIn, if they come and connect with me on LinkedIn, I share content that is all around using LinkedIn. I don't go on there and talk about politics or news or redesigning my office or anything like that. I mean, absolutely show a bit of personality, but if you come and connect with me and follow me on LinkedIn, you will find that I share how to use LinkedIn, because that is why people are connecting with me, because it's the business networking site. You know, I'm not sharing, here's where we went with the kids the weekend, or here's a cycle trail we're going to try out next week, because that's not relevant to my business network. So the content is more relevant to your business network. The people who connect with you and follow you are connecting because they want to know more about what you do in business, not because you're both on the PTA at school. They're friends with you on Facebook for that. And you can be connected to the same people on the different platforms, but they're connecting with you on LinkedIn because of your content that you're sharing about what you do in business. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely makes sense. I'm just sitting here thinking about how I use LinkedIn, and I have to agree with you about 99% of it. And then I was just thinking about, there's this one guy that I'm connected with that posts videos about innovative new technology. And I love seeing his videos. And I will often watch those and sometimes comment on them just because I find them fascinating. It doesn't have anything to do with what I do as a business, but it's
Yes.
something that I'm personally interested in, and it sort of reflects the innovation side of me that I think is really, really important, especially when you're an entrepreneur and you're getting started with a new business and things like that. So that's kind of curious. So to what extent can you kind of show a little bit of your personality through how you engage on LinkedIn?
So I think that is a really, really, it's a really good point to make, Trudy. And I also follow people. So when people say to me, who do I connect with? I say, connect with people who you think could be potential customers or clients, potential collaborators. So people who may work with the same people that you work with, but also people who are sharing content that you're interested in, because you want to go to this platform and see stuff like the innovator guy that you're following. You're interested in what he's talking about. One of my clients, an attorney from California, I am connected with him, excuse me, because originally I connected with him because he reached out to me and asked me, could I help him and work with him? And yes, I am. That's why I initially connected to him. But he shares really interesting posts about new things that are happening in the law in America. And I find it really interesting. I mean, I am a complete geek at heart. And yesterday, he's talking about the new rules around using Zoom. And if you're doing a court appearance via Zoom and somebody's off camera, does that affect the court case? And I find that really interesting. Is that got anything to do with using social media at work, building a business online? No, it's not, but I find it really interesting. So I am engaging with his content as a result. So another thing I'm really passionate about is women in business. So I follow a lot of women, female leaders, people who share content about female leadership, and I'm really interested in that. So you absolutely build a network that you are interested in and you have a genuine. So some people will say to you, Trudy, go and connect with as many people as possible to get your message out to as many people as possible. That's not the way I teach LinkedIn. I talk about building a genuine network and how that makes it more enjoyable when you go to the platform because you're seeing content that you're interested in. It makes it absolutely connect with your ideal customers and clients. But make this platform a social media place that you go to. It's like opening up your favorite newspaper. It's all the columnists you want to hear from. You know, there's a reason why I buy The Guardian every Saturday, because I love particular thought leadership pieces in the paper. Like I do buy the actual paper. Some a lot of people are quite surprised by it. They're like, why don't you just look at it online? Like, because it's a different thing at the weekend. But yes, absolutely. And if there's something you're passionate about and it's not too off field from what you do in business, then yeah, talk about that occasionally and show that. Like I'm an avid reader. I love to read business books. I love to read novels. And I recently did a poll on LinkedIn about, you know, here's a couple of business books I read this summer. What books are you interested in? It's not really related to LinkedIn. It's in the sphere of being in business. I got such huge engagement because people love to give their opinions. One of the easiest ways to get engagement on LinkedIn or any other social media platform is to ask people what they think about something, because people love to be asked what they think, as opposed to here's what I think, and you know, go and digest that. It's like, what do you think about this? And they're like, oh, this is what I think. So I definitely have kind of, if you think of concentric circles, the core being all about LinkedIn, then maybe about being about online business, and there might be a bit about female leadership and a bit about the interests that I have about, like I do like to read and that kind of stuff. But like I said earlier, I won't be sharing posts about the best cycle routes to go cycling in Northern Ireland on, because it's not really relevant to this platform.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really true. Can you just talk a little bit about the difference between connecting with somebody and following somebody on LinkedIn?
Yes, so I do get people who, you get notifications that someone has followed you, and I think, oh, why didn't you connect with me? So if you're listening to this, connect with me, because I am a very sociable person and I like building connections. But you can, if I went to your profile, Trudy, and we weren't connected, and there's an option to follow you rather than connect with you. So following you means that I will see the posts that you put up, but you're not going to see my posts. So if you're building a business network on LinkedIn, you really want to connect with people because you want them to see your content as well. Now, I could follow you. You'll get a notification, Louise Brogan has followed you. Would you like to follow back? In which case I would follow you back. But we're still not having the one-to-one connection that comes with when you send a connection request to somebody. And again, the way I teach LinkedIn is that when you connect with somebody, I always want you to personalize the invitation and say why you're connecting with this person. And it all feeds into building a genuine network. You know, if you don't know why you're connecting with them, then maybe think about why you're actually sending them a connection request. But the beauty of sending a personalized invite is the person goes to LinkedIn, they might log in on Tuesday morning, they go to LinkedIn, they've got 3 connection requests sitting. Only one of them's got a personalized invite. Well, that one jumps out at you straight away. So you're kind of waving your hand higher than the other 2 people. Then when you read what they've written in the message, they normally will say something like, please don't use bots for this, because last week I got 3 messages and they were all identical. And I thought, oh, you obviously didn't write that yourself. All of them said, we have mutual interests. Mm-hmm. It was when I got the second one, I went, that looks like the first message. But if you say, hi, Louise, I heard you on Trudy's podcast and I wanted to reach out and connect with you, that's the perfect opener. You don't need to overthink it. Just say why you're connecting with somebody. I'm going to read that. And as soon as I see somebody has found me through a podcast, I will always reply to that person. And now we're in a one-to-one conversation with each other. So if you think about going into a networking event in person, this is how I view LinkedIn and how I think you should behave on LinkedIn. You go into a networking event in person when we can all do that. I don't think you can do that in Melbourne yet.
No.
No, usually, hopefully, I'm not sure if you're still in lockdown or
You're in
I have a
tight
niece. I have a niece in Melbourne. So she's just moved there this year. Anyway, that's another story. So you go to a networking event in person and you walk in the door and you get your tag and you say hello to the person, first of all, who's giving you your tag and you're checked in. And then you go and get a coffee normally and there'll be somebody standing beside you at coffee. So you're going to say, hello, hi, oh, hi Trudy, I'm Louise, and this is my first time here. Have you been here before? You open up a conversation. It's a very natural human thing. So do the same thing on LinkedIn, because when you send, excuse me, a connection request to somebody on LinkedIn and you don't open up that conversation, you're basically entering the networking room, going and sitting down. You haven't met anybody. People might see you there, but you're not talking to anybody. And then the speaker's finished and you get up and you leave again. You're not really making as much as an impact as you can, and you're missing huge opportunity to talk to the person sitting next to you, the person at the coffee bar. Just, you never know where those conversations lead. And I know in my business and in my life, when I have gone to events and met people and spoken to them, honestly, it could be 6 months later or a year later, somebody says, oh, I was chatting to Trudy at a networking event in Melbourne and she mentioned you, and that's why I reached out to you, because I really want you to help me with my LinkedIn profile. Well, if we hadn't spoken in the first place, then you wouldn't even know what I did, and you definitely wouldn't be memorable enough for someone to say, oh, you should talk to that person, that's what they do.
Yeah, no, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm smiling to myself quite quietly, because I know that in the past, because I can be a little bit of an introvert, and I would go to these networking events and I would just sit in my corner very quietly and look around me, and end up walking out. You know, you only do this a few times before you realize how silly it is. You walk out without having said hello to anybody, and that's such a waste of opportunity. So for somebody who's, now I know you, because I think you're a bit of an extrovert, you know, for somebody who's a bit of an introvert, maybe what kind of tips might you give for somebody, you know, you've already said about the connection, you know, for the connection request. How would you then go about building a stronger, deeper relationship with them? And the reason I'll explain while I'm asking is because I'm like you, I have had people asked to connect with me. They've got these canned messages that they look kind of, you know, genuine at first.
Yes, they're quite cleverly written.
Yeah, and you accept them. You think, well, hang on, why do I need to connect with somebody who's a marketer from another country? But they look kind of interesting, so I'll say yes. And then they just hit you with a bunch of canned messages. They don't respond when you send them a question back about themselves. And I just don't understand how they could possibly think that they could sell their services doing that. But for somebody who's an introvert, how could you go through that process and build a deeper relationship in a natural way?
Okay, well, I'll tell you something else about me when I was younger, Trudy, is that I was very shy when I was a teenager. And I remember going to university. So I went to university in Scotland, and I remember my dad taking me, and I was petrified. And I thought, I don't know anybody here. How am I going to meet anybody? And I just decided that I was going to just try my really hardest to say hello to people. And I do find, you know, it's not, I don't walk into a room and go, ta-da, I'm here. That's not me at all. It's very much, let's see one or two people who look approachable and friendly, and I'll start talking to them. And that works out. Sometimes it works out really well, and sometimes it works out in the way that you're like, oh, okay, I need to meet other people now, but I'm too scared. So behavior can be deceiving, because I went to a conference in California last year, and I remember I got to my hotel room and I was so petrified because I hadn't met anybody at the conference in real life. And I thought I might just stay in my hotel room for 3 days and nobody will know I'm here, because I haven't met anybody yet, and that'll be okay. And it'll just be like a holiday. And then I just thought, no, Louise, come on, get out, go downstairs and meet somebody. And then the ice was broken and it's fine. But the other thing is that those canned responses on LinkedIn, just I'm not the person who will reach out to somebody and say, do you know there's a better way of doing this? Because people don't want to hear that. You know, someone reaches out to me for help. that's absolutely great. I will say, here's how you can work with me. But I won't reach out to somebody and say, do you know what you did was really quite annoying there, and people can see through it. But yesterday I got a connection request from somebody who most of your listeners will probably know their names. They're pretty high, well recognized in the online business space. And they sent me a connection request and they said, hi Louise, I've been meaning to reach out to you. And I was like, really? I don't think that's true. I'm working on a list of events that people can speak at. Would you like the list? And I replied and I said, thanks so much for connecting with me. I mean, it was about TEDx speaking. It's not on my radar. It's not something I'm interested in doing. And I replied and I said, thank you for connecting with me. I'm not really interested in doing TEDx, but thanks anyway. It's nice to meet you. The response, Trudy, what do you think what the response was?
Something completely, totally inappropriate, I'm sure. Not rude, but just completely off the wall.
Completely automated. Thanks, Louise. Here's the list. And sent me a PDF. And I was like, what? I just said I don't want your list. So, you know, they're not reading the responses they're getting. They're sending that email, that message to who knows how many people. They've decided they're going to get on LinkedIn. They're going to connect with as many people as possible. They're sending them all the same message. Doesn't matter what the person's responding back. They are sending that list of TEDx talks. And I thought, no, that's not for me. But if you are, and so Trudy, a lot of people come to me because they are completely overwhelmed with LinkedIn. They have a fear of posting. They have a fear of connecting with people. They don't, just exactly what you said, they don't know what to say in that first message. So they literally can't get over it. So they don't send it. And it's easy to send out connection requests and not personalize it, because you don't have to stick your hand up and go, hi, yeah, my name's Louise and I heard you on da 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 da. Please connect with me, guys. I will always be polite to you, even if you send me a list of something I didn't ask for. But one of the ways to do it is to go and look at that person's profile and see what it says in their about section. Is there anything in there that is of interest to you? And connect with people you're interested in. So if it's somebody who's writing about innovation in their about section, and you send them a message saying, really, hi Derek, I'd really like to add you to my network. I'm interested in innovation too. Hopefully we can, you know, connect here on LinkedIn. Doesn't have to be overcomplicated, but do make it something about them. You've heard them somewhere, you've seen them somewhere, you've seen them comment on a post somewhere. And then, I mean, I would love, Trudy, for everyone to respond to your message and say, thank you, Trudy, it's so nice to meet you. And then you're in each other's network. The harsh truth is that a lot of people just will accept that connection request and they won't respond to you, okay? Do not take that as a slight. People still don't really know how to use this platform to the best of its ability. So a lot of people will accept my personalized invite, but they won't actually respond to it. I would say, I must actually look at the stats, but I would say more people accept and don't reply than do reply. What you're asking, well, why do I still do that? Because enough people reply to make that really worthwhile. And it leads to tighter connections with people. So I still really urge you to do it. But say there's somebody, so say for example, there's somebody in Victoria who runs a conference every year, and you've connected with them because you went to their conference last year. You'd love to speak on a panel or something at their event next year, or you'd love to be part of their team. And you send them a connection request and say, hi Louise, I wanted to connect with you. I attended your conference in Victoria. I thought it was excellent. I really enjoyed it. I'd like to add you to my network. If they don't reply, don't take it to heart. Don't worry about it. But then the next time you're on LinkedIn and you see them posting, comment underneath their post. And when I say comment, I don't mean that's nice or well done. I mean, write a comment, because it will push you up in front of that person's eye line So if they're posting something about, they're looking for speakers for their next conference, or they're launching a new product, or they are interested to hear what people think about, should we run a LinkedIn breakfast meeting every month or something. By writing on a comment, you're not just raising your visibility in front of the person who you want to get in front of, but you're also raising your visibility in front of all the people that follow them as well. And that is such a worthwhile tactic. So I think somebody said yesterday on Twitter, what is the number one thing you should be doing on LinkedIn in 2020? And if you create your LinkedIn account and start connecting with people, the number one thing you should be doing is commenting on other people's posts. It's easier than creating your own content. And again, people get overwhelmed and aren't sure what to write. And that's something I work with clients on. And once you get into the swing of it, then and get comfortable, you can be posting twice a week on there, and that is plenty. But even if the thought of that makes you think, oh, don't really know what to say, comment on other people's posts in a way that's thoughtful, that is actually related to what they're talking about, and that is going to get you visibility, and it is going to lead to people reaching out to connect with you, and it is going to lead to business. All of the business on LinkedIn happens in the inbox. All of it. Nobody ever writes a comment on one of my posts and says, Louise, I'm really interested in this. How can we work with you? Not one single person since the time I've had a LinkedIn account. It has all been in the personal messaging. And that's why, if you can open that conversation up with somebody, you are streets ahead of everybody else.